All right, so we are now on Geography 11, right? So I'm going to have you read your assignment. Part of the assignment is to read pages 11 through 14. You're going to find some of the answers to your questions in there, except for one that I want to go over. And it's very interesting that the reading brought this out. I'm really glad it did, because it has shows the difference in which people from the West, mostly considered Europe and North America and South America, view nature as opposed to many of the cultures in the East and even Africa as well. Because what happens is, in the West over here, we have a Christian heritage, a Christian foundation. And so that affects how we see nature. We see nature and appreciate nature because of how amazing and beautiful it is. Whereas in the East, they see nature and are very connected with nature because oftentimes they believe in deities in nature and how they actually worship nature. The Bible talks about that at some point the people began to worship the creation instead of the creator. And you'll find that, and you'll also find that too with tribal nations that were here before the Europeans came, and in both North and South America, is that they worshiped the creation and did not worship the creator. And oftentimes, what's also very interesting is that a shared story among many tribal peoples and all over the world that you find it is that they at one time were able to communicate and have a relationship with the creator, but at some point that stopped and they lost the ability to do that. And so it goes back to, for me, I believe what happened as a result after the flood is that people spread. The three main races, from the three sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the Shemitic, the Hamitic, and the Japhetic, they spread across the world, but at some point, people lost the knowledge and understanding of the Lord. They lost the ability. They didn't know who He is, and so you'll find that story all over the world. You'll find all over the world stories about a great flood, a worldwide flood, and you'll also find stories about how these tribal peoples and tribal nations used to be able to communicate with the God, the Creator, the one powerful God, except they lost that ability, and then they end up communicating with basically these smaller gods, which actually are demons, and they end up being bound in demonic traditions and worship and things like that. So our Christian heritage, even though the Europeans weren't perfect when they came over, one of the things they did bring was the freedom that the gospel brings, the freedom to be able to know the one true God and know His purposes and His plans. So also, when we look at Asia as a whole, it is really surrounded by a great extent by water. And that for many, many years, that kept them in one place. Because if you try to go out, try to go to the Pacific, you got a long way to go this way to get anywhere here. So it kept them coming from this way. The Caspian Sea is part of the barrier for this way. And then the Indian Ocean is part of the barrier on the south. And then you have the Arctic Ocean on the north. So it's really hemmed in on three sides by water. And why is that? It's because God had a plan for Asia that they would not be able to expand until the proper time. And these natural boundaries would keep people hemmed in and keep people where they needed to be until the correct time, until the time when He had for them to be able to expand and explore and go out. Again, we look at many of these areas and they didn't have the technology for the boat building to be able to really expand this way. You had island nations here, but these were very small nations. These were small tribal peoples. They weren't large nations like the Mongols or the or many of the Chinese dynasties, or even some of the dynasties or kingdoms of India, or also in this area where you had Mesopotamia, you had various kingdoms who ruled through them, the Medes and the Persians. So God designed the world not just to be beautiful and glorious, but he designed it for a specific reason, for why he put people in certain places, and then why he put mountain ranges in certain places, and why he put rivers in certain places, and why he put oceans in certain places, is for the design for not just for the way to people to work, but his design for eternity, how the world was going to work, how people were going to meet each other, and how things were going to expand and grow and be even protected. Because there was a time at which the Mongol ruler Kublai Khan, he ruled all of this area, but he stopped here. He wasn't able to go into Europe and dominate there because there's a natural border. There's a natural border there where he had to stop and he couldn't go further. And it's a good thing because it protected Europe for them to be able to, for the gospel to be able to stay there and get grounded and then expand from there. So God designed it all. He designed waterways for different things. He designed lakes for oceans. All of this water that we see on the earth, it has a purpose other than just having fish in it and drinking from it. He really designed it in a way so that it would work for his plan and purpose. So that's it for waterways. Go ahead. I think there's 4 or 5 pages about water. That's 1, 2, 3. Actually, it's about 3.5. So read those. Answer the questions, and if you have any problems, let me know. Other than that, have a good day.